Bonita Parker is a passionate humanitarian with a heart for serving others. Her professional life began in the United States Army, where she proudly served our country. In the corporate world, Northern Trust Bank hired Bonita as an intern, yet through the years she was promoted to become second vice president. Over a decade of Bonita's life was spent working with various nonprofits and service to the community. Most notably at Rainbow Push Coalition, where she was the Chief Operating Officer. Bonita has worked with a lot of amazing people, but today she serves as External Affairs Manager at ComEd. In this role, Bonita is able to bring the best of her past experiences to her job and the communities ComEd serves. Along with her amazing accomplishments, her greatest achievement is being mother of one and grandmother of four. And as the incoming chairperson for the Chicago Southland Chamber of Commerce, ladies and gentlemen, Bonita Parker.
I am proud to serve on the board of the Chicago Southland Chamber of Commerce, and again, I'll be the incoming 2023 chairwoman-elect. The chamber is critical to business growth. It provides networking opportunities for businesses. It enables businesses to learn through various enrichment courses. It allows businesses to get to know one another so that we can exchange and do business with one another. And the Chicago Southland Chamber, part of the reason I chose and pursued an opportunity to be a part of this organization is because I do see it as one of the premier chambers in the Southland.
All right, it's time to bring up the Giants. Y'all ready for the Giants? All right, without further ado, I am so happy to introduce these industry titans who I have the pleasure to refer to as my friends. They are accomplished examples of what businesses who have grown and transformed and flourished looks like. Our program books weren't large enough to hold their bios and their accomplishments, but each of them is Googleable, so that said something in and of itself. Their websites say it all, but I gotta tell you a little something about them. First and foremost, John, I just love you to pieces. Thank you so much, Mr. John Rogers, founder, chairman, co-CEO, and CIO of Ariel Investments. That's right, give it up, give it up. John received an AB in economics from Princeton University, where he also served as captain of the varsity basketball team. John is active both civically and professionally based on his belief that these engagements make him a better leader and a better investor. Beyond Ariel, he is also a member of the board of directors for McDonald's, for Nike, the New York Times, Ryan Specialty Group Holdings, and the Obama Foundation. John also serves as vice chair of the Board of Trustees for the University of Chicago. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming John Rogers to the stage. Michelle Ringgold. Michelle, wave at me, please, because I went looking for you earlier and I couldn't find you. Yay! Okay, Michelle Ringgold. Michelle is a CPA, MBA, president and CEO of Ringgold Financial Management Services, which is a certified public accounting firm. Michelle graduated magna cum laude from DeVry University, earning a Bachelor's of Science degree in accounting. She is a CPA and earned her MBA from Roosevelt University. Michelle has a strong passion for education, mentoring, and developing others, which is demonstrated in her volunteer services. She has served on various boards, including Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce, CCPA of Roosevelt University, Chicago State University Foundation, the Chicago Women in Trades. She also served as the finance committee for Ace Tech Charter High School and developed the initial financial budget for this approved charter school. Dang, I forgot to tell y'all that John started a charter school too. All right, let me go back to Michelle. She is a member of the Construction Financial Management Association. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Ms. Michelle Ringgold. Marty King. Technically, his government name is Martin King, but I affectionately refer to him as Marty King. Founder and CEO of MLK Enterprises, Marty holds a Bachelor's of Science from University of Illinois. Go ahead, Urbana people. All right, yeah, I figured I'd hear that. And he also holds a JD from University of Illinois Law School. Marty was formerly managing owner of MKMB Restaurants, which owned 21 Burger Kings since 2009, which generated $28 million in annual revenues with 630 employees. I met Marty at Rainbow Push, as I did John as well, where he served as the chairman of the board from 2001 to 2009, managing a $15 million budget. How you gonna say you managed it? I did all the work. Anyway, get this out your bio. I served under him as the Chief Operating Officer from 2002 to 2007. Marty is also the founder of MKMB Corporation, which owned 32 U.S. cellular stores from 2003 to 2008. And he's a great example of joint venturing. MKMB Corporation partnered with Oak Hill Capital Partners to purchase WOW Cable Internet, the largest cable company in the U.S., for $285 million. Marty, please. Let them sit down. I'll stand up. Let them sit down. Yeah. Let the guests have a seat. I'm gonna keep standing. I finally kind of tuned my glasses right, so I don't want to twist my head too hard to the left or right. Let me stay right here while they're working.
And I served 2001 to 29.
Whatever, Marty. Okay, John, you know I got to start with you. John, your interest, I know, in financial services was piqued at an early age because for your birthday and for Christmas, instead of your father buying you toys, he bought you stocks. Can you help us understand how you transitioned from enjoying playing with stock as a kid to now having $16.2 billion in assets, 5 mutual funds, and 123 employees? Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Well, thanks so much. It's an honor to be here. And it has been a long journey. Ariel is 40 years old this year. And I do give my father a lot of credit. You know, my dad was a Tuskegee Airman. He flew over 100 missions and came back to Chicago. He'd gone to Chicago State for college. After being in the Air Force, he came back home to Chicago and talked his way into the University of Chicago Law School. And they first told him no, but he showed up the next day in his captain's uniform and convinced them to give him a test. And he passed the test, and he met my mom on the first day of school. My mom was the first African-American woman to graduate from the University of Chicago Law School in 1946. So I was very, very fortunate to have these pioneering parents. And so to your question, not only did my dad give me stock certificates instead of toys, it'd be like $200 of Commonwealth Edison. He wasn't rich, but he let me keep the dividend checks. And I fell in love with the stock market. I just loved the way you could make real money in the markets. And I played basketball at Princeton, as you mentioned, and my coach, Pete Carrill, who is in the Hall of Fame, basically said I had no idea what I was doing on the basketball court. So I had to focus on my other love when I got home. And I think the last important point was my parents were, part of the South Side of Chicago community. Everybody lived together. Everyone went to school together. We all knew each other. And I got to know John Johnson, who became a role model and mentor, as we all know, the founder of Ebony and Jet, and George Johnson, who created Afro Sheen and Ultra Sheen, and had over 500 employees. Many people don't know that George Johnson started Independence Bank, that became the largest black bank in the country, started Soul Train with Don Cornelius. He did all these extraordinary things, and Urban League dinner every year, George Johnson was responsible for over 60 tables. And Marty and Bonita know when Dr. King came to Chicago, he was there to make sure that we could raise the money to keep the civil rights movement moving in the right direction at a critical time. And of course, when Reverend Jackson came to Chicago, he was there to made Reverend Jackson feel at home here in Chicago and helped in many, many ways. So I say that my journey really was building on the shoulders of these extraordinary entrepreneurs that had all built businesses of scale. They were role models, and they gave us a path. They told us it was important to get involved in our community, fight for economic justice, and fight for all of us every single day. So again, my journey is really because of those leaders here in the Chicagoland area. So thank you.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you, thank you. All right, Ms. Michelle, you own a very successful auditing firm. And as a woman-owned business, what advice would you offer the women in this room?
Wow. First, I would say definitely make sure your purpose is clear. Don't be afraid of growth. Take advantage of certified and women-owned programs that help you get you access. Master your craft. Be good at what you do. Don't be afraid to charge the right rates. I went for 5 years with clients being afraid to increase my rates, although my service was meeting or exceeding expectations. Balancing family, business, personal. I couldn't do it without that man over there, my husband. I had a great support system. 17 years ago, supported me then and continues to support me.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I'm gonna bounce back to you, John, then I'm coming to you next, Marty. Get ready, get ready. There is data showing the wealth gap between majority and minority communities has become significantly larger over the past decade. What responsibility, from your judgment, do you think businesses, and particularly businesses in the Chicagoland area, what responsibility do they have that might address these growing gaps?
Well, I think we have to hold these large anchor institutions, not only the local corporations, but the hospitals, the universities, the museums. They spend enormous amounts of money. We all know, especially post-George Floyd's murder, everyone's saying how important it is to build up strong black businesses. But they're always forgetting that we need to have customers too. So many people talk about access to capital, and that's important. We need capital. But we need customers. We all know that. In your audit business, you need customers. So these anchor institutions, these local businesses or the local nonprofits have to make a commitment to work with minority businesses in everything we do. Not just in, it's very important to do construction, it's very important to do catering, et cetera, but our economy's evolved over the last 40 to 50 years.
Absolutely.
And it's become a professional services economy, it's become a technology-based economy, it's become a financial services-based economy. So what these anchor institutions have to do, if they want to make a dent in this wealth gap, is to do business with black and brown people in the parts of the economy where the wealth's being created today, where the real profits are and the real opportunity is. And last thing I'll say, the Civic Committee here in Chicago, our business leadership group, downtown, the 84 largest businesses, they got this data from McKinsey and BCG with the help of Jim Lowry and Associates. And it shows that the #1 spend in Chicago area is professional and financial services. $80 billion with profit margins 5 to 20%. Construction, which I said is important, is number 10, $25 billion with profit margins at less than 1%. We want to do that business, but we want to do business in the parts, again, where the economy, where the profit margins are and the cash flow is, and then this wealth gap will get better and better for us, and we can bring back the kind of large businesses of scale that George Johnson and John Johnson represented.
All right, thank you, John. One of the things that Marty used to always preach and teach during my Rainbow Push days was the importance of multiple streams of income. And Marty has done a wonderful job being demonstrative of someone who has multiple streams of income. Can you tell us, how do you manage multiple streams of income simultaneously? I can barely do one job.
I think you do about 10 jobs, Benita, for real.
It's true, I do.
She's grandmother extraordinaire, I know that for a fact. But first, let me give praise and honor to God for the opportunity to be of service. My brother, Reverend Carl White, and my golf partner is here. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Carolyn Palmer and Luana Peters, two women that raised me up through Rainbow Push. I'm able to sit on this stage with two extraordinary people and Benita because of Rainbow Push. And Luana Peters and Carolyn Palmer are a big part of that. So give them all a round of applause for me.
All right.
And my daughter, Raquel, is here. She's a special ed teacher. She went to the University of Illinois and went to Whitney Young just like I did. She's here, Raquel. And all those new Lux Leaf billboards you see on I-57. The owner of Lux Leaf Dispensary, a cannabis dispensary, is coming here. I am the landlord, and Brian Nix is the owner of the new Lux Leaf in Matson. So Benita, the way I manage, really I follow your weekly timesheet. Benita used to have these staff meetings at Push on every Monday. And she created, Reverend Jackson and I were just talking about this yesterday. He was trying to make it, but he couldn't make it just this late. But he was trying to get out here, Benita. He just sent me a text that he couldn't make it. I learned how to manage many businesses from Benita. She doesn't even know this. She had this spreadsheet where she would make every person, at the time we might have had 60 staff members that worked for Rainbow Push, and Benita knew exactly what they were working on, what their goals were, when they'd be finished with a project. And I took that same formula and used it in business. I mean, we owned the Burger Kings, the US Sailors, the Verizons, we had restaurants, and we had cable television, and we still have cable television. Now we're into cannabis and real estate and some other things. But in my notes, I just want to say for the record, I have 2 pages of notes. I mentioned the exact same things about growing up in a community. John and his mother, Jewel LaFontaine, he didn't give her justice. Jewel LaFontaine was one of the greatest African-American women to ever grace Chicago and America. She was a special advisor to, I believe, Nixon, Ford, and Reagan, right, John? Is that correct? And she ran for Congress.
No, she didn't run for Congress.
She didn't run for Congress?
No. Richard Nixon, we actually have in writing, said that he had my mom on the short list, that if he had one more Supreme Court justice pick, he would have picked her to be on the Supreme Court. So that was something that was pretty special.
So and also, yeah, I'll give her a round of applause, Jewel LaFontaine. So John lived down the street. I lived on the block where Obama lives now. And down the street on the corner was Kwame Raoul, the current Attorney General. Around the corner was Jesse Jackson's office. Down the street was Muhammad Ali. Down the street from him was Minister Farrakhan. Down the street from that was Frank Brooks, who owned Brooks Sausage. Down the street from there was Harold Washington and Tony Preckwinkle. I used to deliver her groceries. So I learned at an early age to bother every adult that I knew because I wanted to be somebody. And so to be somebody, I felt I needed to know everybody. So I made it my business, like John said. I used to have lunch with John Johnson once a month in high school. Reverend Jackson and Dr. King would not be where they wouldn't have been able to take our people where they did without the support of a John Johnson, a George Johnson, a Cirillo McSween, who owned the McDonald's and owned Independence Bank. And Dr. King had Stanley Levinson out of New York, Harry Belafonte, he had James Brown and Aretha Franklin. But what John didn't mention, that in our generation, the support of Rainbow Push and the National Action Network and NAACP and Urban League has been Ariel Capital. He is the new John Johnson. John and Melody have kept the 4 civil rights organizations alive over the last 2 decades. That is a true fact.
I can vouch for that. I used to call John when I couldn't make payroll.
And then I also like to say that through John and Melody's and Jim Reynolds' example, it's up to us now, the younger generation, to be in business and be a partner to the community and community organizations and give up your time. I was running 5 businesses and still gave Reverend Jackson 30 hours a week for free as chairman because he paid for me to go to college and law school out of his own pocket. I became his travel assistant, never got paid, but I got to meet everybody in the world. I got to meet John Rogers. I got to meet Beyonce, Jay-Z, Harry Belafonte, Shaq, Magic. I got to meet every CEO in the top 100, and they all knew me by name. I've known every president since Nixon because of my relationship with Jesse Jackson. So I am blessed to sit on this stage and talk to you all, but I'm a blessed fatherless kid who looked to other leaders to fill that gap and fill that void. So thank you, Benita.
Thank you for your transparency. That was a lot. I wasn't expecting all that. Thank you, Marty. So here's the one thing that I'd like to ask each of you, and John, I'm gonna start with you. The chamber. I'm excited about the chamber because, again, I see value in people coming together, supporting each other, doing business with each other, growing, etc. Could you all tell me, starting with you, John, what value you would add or ascribe to people being a part of an organization such as the chamber?
Well, I think it's so important for us to learn to work together, and there's so much more power when we're all together. We can put pressure on the local institutions, the way Reverend Jackson used to force these companies to live up to the values that they say, and the nonprofits, and again, the hospitals, the universities. The second thing that I think we can do is live the values of the late Congressman John Lewis. You know, he always said that if you're in a leadership role and you see things that are not right, they're not just, you have a responsibility to speak up, make good trouble. You know, all of us here in the room are leaders. We're leaders in our church. We're leaders in a local nonprofit. We're leaders in our corporate world. Wherever we are, we're leaders. And we're making decisions on who gets economic opportunity. If all of us are speaking up and speaking out and fighting for equal economic opportunities for each of us here in the room, opportunities will come our way and we'll be able to create wealth. We'll get larger. We'll get to scale. We can help each other. So I think we need to learn from each other how to make a difference in our leadership roles and how to make a difference by bringing along women and people of color and from disadvantaged backgrounds to have an equal opportunity to fully participate in our capitalist democracy.
All right. Thank you, John. Excellent answer. Michelle, you want to take a stab at that? What's the importance of people joining like a chamber? I know. Give us your best.
No, but I really do agree that we do have to work together, but we also have to support one another and be willing to uplift folks that may be a little lower and trying to get where you're at. I just remember organizations like the chambers being able to provide supportive services or going to a larger African American CPA firm and knocking on the door and just trying to partner and get that opportunity. And folks like you guys, the willingness. I'm sitting next to you guys and I'm like, wow. I own, my husband and I, a craft grow business, Galaxy Labs. We are number 2 going to the market, opening in May. People didn't think we can do it. And here I'm sitting next to dispensary owners, a dispensary owner at our table. Social equity is very important and we need to support one another.
And by the way, I need all y'all to join the chamber. I'm just saying. Okay, Marty, go ahead.
I really believe, I think I'm a product of community service. I was knocking on doors for Harold Washington, Come Alive October 5. I was doing deputy voter registration with Luanna Peters, who taught me to be a deputy registrar, she and Alice Tregay. I believe that the chamber and small business organizations are the reason and the opportunity you could become a large African American or female or Latino-owned business, because that's where you meet people and you meet people that can help you elevate yourself. But Medina, I would like to add that you mentioned the fact about small business. America leads in only 3 things. 3 things America leads in: small business development, the number of incarcerated citizens per capita, defense spending. We spend more than the next 25 countries combined. 24 of them are allies. We're 7th in literacy, 27th in math, 49th in life expectancy, 148th in infant mortality, 3rd in household income, 4th in labor force, and 4th in exports. Small business is one of the only highlights of what we do well in America.
Yep, John, you want to say something?
I'm sorry, I just want to say one quick thing. Thank you, Marty, and thanks for the shout out, Marty, too. I really appreciate it. But one thing I was going to say, one other thing the Chamber can do is celebrate the anchor institutions that are doing great work.
That's right.
You know, you talk about a Commonwealth Edison and Exelon. The University of Chicago works with over 100 minority businesses. Marty talked about Cirillo McSween and being a McDonald's owner-operator. We know Willie Wilson created a lot of wealth being a owner-operator as well as a supplier to McDonald's. We know the Northern Trust does a great job with the minority board and business leadership. So we need to celebrate those folks that are doing things the right way, and hopefully that'll shame the folks that talk a good game and don't do anything to do the right thing.
Oh my goodness, we could go on all night. Okay, we only got one question left yet, y'all, one round of questions. So John, the question I have for you, what advice would you give a small business that desires to grow? A small business that's just starting out, but they want to get to be $16.2 billion in assets, like you.
Well, it's not my money, as you know, it's our mutual fund shareholders and our institutional clients it's not my money. So, I'll be crystal clear.
A piece of it.
And we are a rounding error
Small
compared to Fidelity and Vanguard, and we are little. So I just want to be clear about that. No, but I think one of the key things, you know, we always say we need access to capital. I talked about that earlier. But the most important thing for a small entrepreneur, I think, is having great talent with you. You know, I had a great friend who helped me start the business who I'd gone to high school with. I met Melody Hobson 36 years ago when she was a prospective Princeton student, and I was recruiting minority students for Princeton. She's been at Ariel 32 years, and of course, she's just extraordinary. You know, she's the chairman of Starbucks. She's on the J.P. Morgan Chase board. She's one of the most dynamic, successful business leaders in the country, and we couldn't do everything we do if we didn't have those kind of partners and those kind of business leaders. So for small businesses, if you want to get big, you've got to attract the talent. And I found that volunteering for my alma mater, helping Princeton recruit students, I met my most valuable player. And as Marty said, getting involved in the community, helping, you meet great people, good things happen, and maybe some of those folks can help you to build your business when you meet them and hire them full time.
Thank you, John. Good answer. Marty, do you believe there is value in forging relationships with elected officials? We've got a lot of hardworking elected officials in this room who we love and adore and who come alongside of us. Do you think there's value in businesses having a relationship with their elected official? If so, why?
Well, absolutely, and I can give you a direct example from people sitting in this room, Al Davis, Will Davis, and our mayor, Sheila Kern, and Anthony's here. They made it a point to make sure when they accepted that they were going to allow cannabis in the village of Matteson, they made sure that we had all the tools that we needed to get open. They were fair, just, they worked expeditiously to help us acquire the real estate, to help the business get open. So I absolutely believe that having support from elected officials and getting involved. I mean, my career started after law school right out here in the 2nd Congressional District. Jesse Jr. and I recruited Robin Kelly to run for state rep. Will knows that. Will was Jesse's driver when we started. Now he's a state rep. Jesse Jr. and I started driving the district after we graduated from law school. And we said, we are running for Congress and we are going to build a 3rd airport in the Southland. This was 1994. Rick Bryant knows the story. Benita knows the story. It was our idea to say, hey, if they can have jobs and downtown economic development downtown, we can have jobs and access and transportation out this way. And that's what we ran on in 95 and we won. Unfortunately, Jesse had some challenges, but we asked Robin to step up. She was passed the torch, and now she's one of the greatest congresswomen that we've ever had to serve in the Southland. So I absolutely believe that public service and elected officials and business go hand in hand because we all need each other to ring those bells and make sure corporate America and institutions do the right thing, and not just because a young African American gets brutalized by the police.
All right, all right. Well,
I have to thank somebody because he opened it up, and that's the Village of Richland Park, President Rick Rainbow and the Village of Richland Park. When we came to them to get our craft grow business on the ground, we presented to them. They supported us. They were happy to see that our group was black and brown. They helped us through the process, and I want to thank you guys because we couldn't do it without you. And we got access now to generational wealth. Thank you.
I think the question is answered. Small businesses do need to have a great relationship with our elected officials. You guys, I could go on all night, but we can't. This has been wonderful. Last closing thought for each of you. Is there one thing, one salient closing advice that you would give to any business owner in this room? Is there one thing that sticks out in your mind as a successful business owner that you would say, if you own a business, you should do this or you shouldn't do that? And what would that one thing be? And John, I'm gonna start with you again.
Well, I said earlier, I think the most important thing is to have really great people around you. Maybe one thing I would add, we have a really great board of directors at Ariel Investments. We've met every quarter for the last 40 years. We've never missed a board meeting. And currently on our board, we have people like Valerie Jarrett. We have on our mutual fund board, the former Attorney General, Eric Holder. We have people like that who are there fighting with us to help make our business strong. And many people don't like having a board, but we have smart, strong, dynamic people on our board that make us better and push us to be the best we can be.
Thank you, thank you. Michelle?
Well, I agree with that with people. But let me think of something out the box, and I think it would have to be overcoming your fear. I just, it took me 5 years to even start the company, and I had to understand and realize that my fear was blocking my creativity and me excelling. And how I overcame that was, first of all, understanding what's the worst thing that can happen and evaluating that and saying, okay, well, if I fail, I gotta go back to work. Or Rick's gonna have to give me some more money. But at the end of the day, I think really overcoming your fear as a leader is critical.
Okay, Marty, you're one.
I say it's really three things. If you can't see it, you can't have it. I believe what John said about paying it forward. John has always paid it forward. There are some of us who have access to some of the personal items of John Rogers because he wants everybody to enjoy them. He pays it forward. And then the last thing I would say is be of service. Mm-hmm. I got my first business. Luana Peters knows this because Bobby Rush was head of the telecommunications committee, and I wanted a cell phone store. So the president of Ameritech said to me, if you get me a meeting with Jesse Jackson, Sr., and Bobby Rush, I'll get you into the cell phone program and give you one store, and I won't give you any money. You got to do it on your own. And I got him that meeting, and 6 months later, we had the first Ameritech store black-owned in Chicago on 87th and the Dan Ryan. Wow. But it was service that got me the opportunity.
If that's the case, I should have some real good opportunity coming soon. I sit on the board at Cornerstone. Cornerstone, I love you all so much. I preside over that board. I love everything that they do. I love what I'm doing with the Chicago Southland Chamber of Commerce. I can't even remember. Harvey School District 152 Education Foundation. I don't know if y'all in here, but I serve on that board. I do what I do because ComEd affords me that opportunity to make a difference in the community that we serve. And again, Keisha, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for ComEd. I'm happy to be able to serve and connect the dots. And at this point, can you join me in just giving a round of applause one more time? And John, now Marty and Michelle, don't y'all get mad at me. I'm gonna get y'all next time. But John drove a long way to come out here with us. So I wanna give him his first token of joining downtown Chicago with the Chicago Southland. We're giving you this nice vest that has Ariel Investments and the Chicago Southland Chamber of Commerce all in one place. And you also have a few other little trinkets to come along with it. Got you a couple of golf scarves here or golf towels here, even though I know you'll probably end up using them for basketball. But thank you so much. We appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
Let's give it up for our guests, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.